I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 330. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, my dear friends all over the world. I love to say that. I can never say hello, my dear friends all over the world enough, because seriously, I never thought I would be having this podcast where people all over the world are actually listening to this. I work with people from all over the world because of this podcast. I get letters from people all over the world who listen to my podcast. And I love saying, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. I will never get sick of saying that. And I do feel like you are all my dear friends. And you know what? We all have something very, very much in common. And what I want to help you with more than anything else, as a woman going through menopause or getting ready to go through menopause, or ending menopause, is I really want to help you realize who is in control of this show. And what I mean by this show in life is that we really have very little control over what happens in life, which I call circumstances, the weather, world events, the virus, the different strains of the viruses, what politicians say, all of that. Those are all things that are just happening. And we get to choose what we want to think about any of that. And when I say control of the show, what I mean by the show is your perception of the show, your perception of what is going on, be it the virus, be it what a politician says, be it the weather, be it whatever it is, what your partner says to you, what your children say to you, whatever it is. When I say controlling the show, it's not controlling all of that. It's controlling your perception of all of that. And of course, Marianne Williamson calls a miracle a change in perception. So in a way, I feel like I could call myself a miracle coach because that's exactly what I do. I help people change their perception of themselves and of what's going on in their life. And of course, what I mainly do, as you all know, since the name of my podcast is Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond, is I really help you come to peace with what you put in your mouth and how you feel about your body as you get older. And I do think our perceptions change as we get older, because the best thing about our perceptions as we get older is we add wisdom, and wisdom comes with age. So I think the older you get, the wiser you get, the better chance you have of having a wise perception of what you're seeing or what you're doing. Now, one of the things that I thought would be very interesting to talk to you about today, because I have a group going on right now. As you know, I open up a group a few times a year, and we're in the midst of this group that started in November. If you remember, I was talking a lot about creating a group during the holidays, going through the holidays, coming out of the holidays. Well, we're coming out of the holidays. And one of the things that I think a lot of people still want to know always is, what do I do with these urges to this day? I don't care if it's one of my clients. I don't care if it's one of my group clients. In the end, it's like, how do I do it? So I want to spend a little bit of time on this podcast telling you what an urge is and how you can control it, because there's different ways to control it. Some work better than others, the different ways. So I want to discuss that with you today and give you a little exercise that you can do in the next week that might help you control your urges. So first of all, an urge basically is a desire to do something, eat something that you don't want to do. It's an urge. It's a feeling in your body. It's almost like a vibration in your body that you can feel that's urgent, that's making you feel like you have to do something and you don't really want to do it. And what we're talking about here more than anything else, because urges in themselves, if you have an urge and it's not a problem, then really we don't even call it that. But when you have an urge and it is a problem for you, then we want to talk about what do we do with this vibration in our body. And I do call it negative emotional hunger. An urge is negative emotional hunger, just like boredom, just like sadness, just like anger. An urge itself or desire is also a negative emotion. And I've talked a lot about it in the podcast, about it being like a hole that you fill. So an urge or negative emotional hunger, we can talk about them either way, is how strong are urges. So they can be very, very weak. They can go from 0 to negative 10. So 0 is you don't feel anything, and a negative 1 is a very light, I feel like I could eat a little something. That's a thought that creates this urge, this feeling. Now, when it's really light like that, when you have that thought, if it's really a light feeling in your body, it might be easy enough for you to say something to yourself and manage it like you're not hungry, or it's not time to eat, or you don't really want it, or you're not going to like the way it makes you feel. We call those managing thoughts. Now, what I teach my clients to get good at is what are the unmanaged thoughts that create these urges. Unmanaged thoughts are not intentional. It's not really what you want to think. But when you think it, it puts that vibration in your body. And when you feel that vibration, it feels a little urgent, negative 1, negative 2, very urgent, negative 7, negative 8. Big hole, little hole. So what I want to show you today is that what do you do when you feel any of them? How do you stop yourself from putting something in your mouth? How to control urges. So there's 3 different ways that you can control an urge. The first way is to resist it, to push it away, to just slap your hand or just to tell yourself you can't have it. And that's very similar to willpower. What we use when we really, really want something, but we just try to push it away for as long as we can. But sooner or later, we can't push it away forever. We end up giving into it. That is willpower. And willpower or resistance to urges will not work long term. That's what most of you are used to doing, is feeling that resistance, slapping yourself or telling yourself you're bad, you can't do this, you can't have it, creating a lot of deprivation. You feel deprived just by the way that you're talking, and you can do it for so long. But I want you to think about it like this: resistance and willpower, pushing away an urge or pushing away a thought. Think of it as a beach ball. And if you're in the water and there's a beach ball on top of the water and you try to push it down, you can hold that beach ball down for so long, but sooner or later, your muscles are going to get tired and it's going to pop back up. That is resistance or willpower. Now, there's another way to handle an urge, and that's called allowing an urge. Now, allowing an urge is very different from resisting an urge, and it's also the most confusing when I'm talking to clients. But the best way for me to explain this desire or urge that you're thinking, like you might be thinking, I want something sweet, and you can hold that beach ball down, or, which is called resisting it, or you can let it pop up which is allowing it. Now, when you let that beach ball pop up, basically what you're doing is you're allowing that vibration or that feeling to be there. You're not distracting yourself. You're not running away from it. You're allowing yourself to feel that feeling without eating it. That is basically what we call allowing an urge, letting the beach ball come up. And a lot of my clients and a lot of my listeners will say, can I distract myself? What can I do when I want something? And it's not what you do, like run away from it. A lot of people want to run away from it and not feel it. Well, I'll go for a walk. I'll go read a book. I'll take a bath. That's distraction, and that's basically the same thing as resisting it. You just don't want to do that, but it feels like you just want to get away from the feeling. Now, where you can get the strongest and feel the most powerful is in this stage of allowing it, letting yourself feel it, noticing what it is that you're thinking that's creating the feeling, and then being able to manage it, which is a concept of allowing an urge and then managing the thought that creates the urge. So you let yourself feel it. It does not feel good, I promise you. If you had a choice, seriously, between feeling this vibration in your body that feels very urgent or eating a cookie, your brain will tell you, let's just eat the cookie and forget about it. Or your brain may just say, let's just run away as quickly as we can and not feel it, which is just willpower. Either way, you haven't really learned anything and you're going to still want it because you haven't dealt with what it feels like to feel when you want something, but you don't really want it. And when you can get really powerful and really strong with this, like noticing the thoughts that create the urge, noticing the thought that manages the urge, which is maybe something as simple as, oh, I want something sweet. I have so many clients that basically have that thought after a certain meal. I want something sweet, as if you have to have something sweet. But it's just a thought you've been thinking for a long time. It creates this vibration in your body of urgent, like I got to have it. And then if you eat it, you create the same cycle of I have to have something sweet. But if you allow this thought and this urge, I want something sweet, you notice that feeling. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good, but you let yourself feel it. This is what it feels like to have an urge. What will happen over time is it will dissipate. The urge will lessen and lessen whenever you don't reward it, but you let yourself feel it. That is the really important part, is to be able to let yourself feel what you're feeling. And that's what I talk about with all feelings, is we have to learn how to feel them. But an urge is exactly the same thing. Now, in Pema Chodron's book, Taking the Leap, which is a bunch of Buddhist techniques for handling urges, but they call it in Buddhism, it's a Tibetan word called Shenpa. She gives this little exercise of how to allow Shenpa without resisting it, without pushing it away, and without giving into it. And it's a 3-step process, and I'm going to give it to you right here and right now. So pay very, very close attention to me so you remember this or write it down. All right. So the next time you have a thought or you feel an urge, you're going to say to yourself, number 1, this is what an urge feels like. You're identifying the problem. It is what it is. This is what I feel. Now, the second step that you're going to do is you're going to pause. And when you pause, you're going to allow yourself to take 3 deep breaths. And as you pause to take these 3 deep breaths, you also say to yourself, if after these 3 breaths you still want to eat it, go ahead and eat it. It calms everybody down for a minute. So you take your 3 deep breaths, you pause, and then the third step is that there's no drama. You just move on. You don't make it a big thing if you eat it, and you don't make it a big thing if you don't. It's not dramatized a lot. Just in this process, I want you to try it, because what Pema says in her book is the action of pausing and breathing. Even if you end up eating it, you're still teaching your brain to take a break. And each time you give yourself a moment where you can strengthen and allow it to be there without giving into it. So the pause and the breath, that middle step, is the most important. But the third step is also really important, that you don't hang on to it a lot after. You just move on after it's over. So I want you to try that this week. Pema and all the things that she teaches in Buddhism, it's so old, all of this. It's been around for thousands of years. And now we're using it to help, I'm using it to help you handle urges. So I think what I said in the beginning, there are 3 processes, but actually there's just 2 ways of handling an urge. You're either resisting or you're allowing. You're going to use Pema's technique this week, and you're going to let yourself feel it. You're going to tell yourself this is what an urge feels like. You're going to let yourself breathe and go through it, and then you're going to move on. And of course, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, no matter what else you do today, even as you start allowing yourself to feel these urges and giving yourself a big pat on the back, when you can say to yourself, I can feel an urge. I know what it feels like and I can handle it. It's just a thought that's creating a feeling. Oh my gosh, just think of the things that you may be able to accomplish. And of course, no matter what else you do this week and no matter where else you go, as you're allowing urges to come through, please, please, please be very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.